Hey, the lone top tens here. There was a time where Persia was the greatest empire in the world. They marched upon Greece with an army of 2.5 million fighters, but because they lost, we have only heard the story through the words of their enemies. Most people today know it through the stories of Leonidas and his 300 Spartans, popularized by the movie 300, which is also not for children, so just remember that. But that was just a small moment in a much bigger war. The real story revolved around the Persian king Xerxes, and it was a bit different from how you might be picturing it in your mind. So here are the 10 forgotten tales from Persia's invasion of Greece. First of all, number 10. Sparta apologized for throwing a messenger down a well. Everybody knows that famous moment when the Spartans kicked a Persian messenger down a well really happened. Because it was popularized from 300. But it really happened, just remember that. But a lot of details got left out. And they'll completely change the way you think of it in your mind. Xerxes' father sent messengers to every ruler in Greece demanding a tribute to earth and water as a show of submission to Persia. It was not just the Spartans who refused. The Athenians threw their messenger down a pit too. They had the courtesy to give him a trial first, though. The Spartans just told him to dig out Sparta's earth and water yourself. Threw him in. By the time Xerxes became king, he did not even bother sending messengers to Athens or Sparta. He did not have to, anyway. The Spartans came to him and said they were sorry. After throwing the Persian down into the well, the Spartans became convinced that they were cursed. The gods stopped answering their prayers, and they were pretty sure it was because they had mistreated a messenger. So to make the gods happy, they sent 2 human sacrifices to Xerxes, and well, they apologized and offered to let him execute them to even the score. Xerxes spared them. Partially, he was trying to take the high road, but he mainly just had his mind set on revenge. The death of 2 men, he told them, would not acquit the Spartans from the guilt they had contracted. Number 9. The Greeks practically begged Xerxes to invade them. Xerxes originally wanted to leave Greece alone. His father had led a long and painful campaign against the Greeks, and lost. Xerxes was not eager to follow in his footsteps. Some of his generals pushed him for him to go to war, but he was not going to listen to them at all, until the Greeks asked him to. A lot of Greeks actually loved Persia. They thought they were an incredibly diverse and progressive nation. Some of them were so eager to become a part of the empire that they actually came to Persia and asked Xerxes to become their leader. First, the Alaudu family came over and offered to pay Xerxes to come to Greece. Then another family called the Pisistrida came and offered him even more. They even brought an oracle with them, who told Xerxes he was destined to build a floating bridge and conquer Greece. By the time they left, Xerxes was convinced he was meant to rule Greece. He called together his people and announced that they were going to be in war. "I will never rest," he declared, "until I've taken Athens and burnt it." That's what he literally said, right? Number 8. Xerxes made his men whip a river for misbehaving. Xerxes brought into the prophecy the Greeks gave him. He wanted to play out every moment they described leading to his victory, so he set up a floating bridge across the Hellespont River. It did not work out. As soon as the bridge went up, a storm knocked it down. Xerxes had some issues with anger. If someone made him mad, he got revenge, even if someone was a body of water. He ordered his men to put chains on the river and whipped it for his insolence. So they tossed some chains in the water and gave the river 300 lashes. "You're a turbid and briny river!" It gets weirder by that. Xerxes apparently felt bad about whipping the river, because he wants God's bridge to stay up. He apologized to it. He burned incense on the bridge and threw golden bottles into the water, which, according to Herodotus, was his attempt to apologize to the sea. It would not work well, I guess. Number 7. Xerxes cut a man in half for draft dodging. Before he crossed the bridge, one of Xerxes' men, named Pythias, came to him and asked for a favor. He had visions that the war would fail, and he feared his sons, who were marching off to war, would die. "Take pity on me in my advanced age," Pythias begged, "and release one of my sons, the eldest, from service." Xerxes' short fuse went off. After cursing Pythias out for a full minute, he barked, "You shall be punished by the life of the one you must desire to keep." He sent his men out to get Pythias' son and had him cut in half. One half of his body was put on the right side of the road, and the other half on the left side of the road, so that the army had to march between the severed corpse on the road to Greece. Interesting. Number 6. Xerxes tore down a mountain just because he could. Before he left for Greece, Xerxes ordered his men to build a massive canal. His father's fleet had been swept away in a storm when he invaded Greece, and Xerxes did not want to make the same mistake. He ordered his men to plow through a mountain and build a massive artificial canal that stretched over 2 kilometers. It took 3 years of whipping workers to actually make it, but they did it. They made a canal so massive that the whole Persian fleet could cross it. This was such a massive feat that, until fairly recently, people thought it was a myth. Until land surveyors found proof that it actually did exist, we thought it was impossible to do. The Greeks, though, did not really understand why he was doing it. With no trouble, they could have drawn their strips across the isthmus. Herodotus wrote about it, pointing to a natural strip of land that would have kept this ship safe. He had another theory. Xerxes gave the command for this digging out pride, wishing to display his power and leave a memorial. If he's right, it worked. The canal outlived its creators. Alright, number 5. The Spartans got... Sorry about that, guys. We just need to turn the volume off a bit. Okay, number 5. The Spartans got ready for battle by making their hair look pretty. Meanwhile, the Spartans were getting ready for their battle in their own way. The Spartan army kept their hair long, believing that long, wild hair would strike terror in the hearts of their enemies. Before battle, they did their exercises and combed their long hair, preparing for war. But that was not exactly how the Persians saw it. Xerxes sent a spy ahead to scout out the Spartan forces, and he was not impressed by what he saw. He reported back that the Spartans were sitting around dancing and making sure that their hair looked pretty instead of getting ready for war. A Spartan defector, Demaratus, tried to explain to him that Spartans prepared their hair before fighting. In part, it let them die with dignity, but their thick braids were also worked as a type of armor. Xerxes, though, was not impressed. He made a joke about them being sissies and marched on. Number 4. The Persian army had every bad omen possible. As the Persian army approached, they saw things that, according to the Greeks, were bad omens everywhere they looked. First, they walked past a mirror giving birth to a hare, which, according to the Greeks, symbolized that Xerxes would flee for his life. Then they saw the birth of a hermaphroditic mule, with both female and male genitals. One source for this is Herodotus, who saw this as such an obvious omen that it is not even worth explaining. The meaning of it was easy to guess, he writes, before scoffing at Xerxes because he took no account of either sign and journeyed onward. Those omens had lost a lot of their meaning, but everyone, or I should say anyone, would be worried about what happened next. As they marched forward, they started getting attacked by every lion that they possibly can see. Every night, lions would come out of their homes just to kill their camels, and some started to wonder if maybe the gods just didn't like them that much. Number 3. Xerxes defiled Leonidas' body. Alright. Now, the Battle of Thermopylae followed. Leonidas and his 300 Spartans met the Persian army and held out against them to the last man. But the story does not end with Leonidas' death. After the 300 Spartans were defeated, the Persians marched on. They rained arrows upon the Spartans until the last one was dead and slaughtered every person they could actually find. They tore down the walls of Thermopylae. Every single Spartan they could find was killed. When Leonidas was shot down, his man-at-arms tried to protect his body and get it to a safe place, where it could be put to rest with dignity. Xerxes, though, would not allow it. Once his men had crushed their way through, he had Leonidas' head chopped off, or in other words, decapitated, and his body crucified on a spike. Interesting. Number 2. The Greeks nearly lost because of a love spat over a handsome body. Leonidas, though, was not the real hero of the war. The man who really made it possible for the Greeks to win was Themistocles. I don't think I said that right, but anyway. Before Persia had even set its sights on Greece, Themistocles was building warships to get ready. It was a navy that really beat the Persians. Themistocles tricked Xerxes into sending his ships into a narrow canal called Salamis, where he surprised him with a stronger defense than he had expected. It was a turning point of the war, the moment that made a Greek victory actually possible. It nearly did not happen, though, because of Themistocles' penchant for young boys. He and a man named Aristides have been fighting over the love of a good-looking boy named Stellus, I guess. Aristides was so mad that he fought Themistocles in every turn. Out of spite, he nearly stopped Themistocles from building his navy. Themistocles managed to get Aristides kicked out Athens and build his ships. If he had not, the Persians would have won. And that would be bad, because Islam would have been spreading in, I don't know, hundreds of years. But all because of a spat between the jealous lovers of a young boy. That's what made it possible for them to win. Awesome. Number 1. Themistocles joined the Persian army. This war changed all of Western history. Had it not been for Themistocles, Greece never would have developed into the philosophic cultural cornerstone it became. He saved Greece, and then probably afterwards switched sides. Oh, come on. After the war, Themistocles worked on building up the Athenian military to get them ready to fight the Spartans. The Spartans found out and, in retaliation, spread rumors that he was planning on betraying Athens to the Persians. It worked. The Athenians kicked him out. Frustrated, Themistocles decided that if they thought he was helping the Persians, then maybe he should just do it anyway. He sailed off to Persia and spent the rest of his life as a Persian governor. He worked for Xerxes' son until the very end, serving the army he had once defeated. Alright guys, that is it. If you have any other forgotten tales about the Persia's invasion of Greece, just let me know in the comments down below, alright? If you have any other top 10s I should probably do, or at least any top 10s, just let me know in the comments down below as well, okay? Now, don't forget to subscribe to my channel, like this video, and see you guys next time in another awesome video. Take care.